Well, good evening, one and all. This is your buddy Dave over at Mars X3D. And hopefully, we got this thing running and somebody's out there. I hope you can hear the sound. And well, let's see. Anyway, kind of an echo in here today. And if you're present and hearing this, uh, drop me a note. Let me know if you're hearing me and if you're seeing me. If you're not, I don't know what to do. I've been messing around with the Perseverance pictures this week, the uh, various pictures. Well, it's kind of a long story, but I had a number of photos that I was hoping to share with you tonight, but had a very busy day, and in the time that was remaining, I couldn't figure out how to properly share my images over OBS, which is what I'm using. So hopefully, hopefully we're doing okay. I'm not hearing from anybody just yet. I'm looking at the stream health. It says everything is good. And okay, hey John, how are you, buddy? Good to have you here. Do you hear me okay? Is everything working? We got camera, we got sound. It's so hard to tell from my end. Everything sounds good on my end, but on your end, who knows? It's kind of the way it works with YouTube. It's real roundabout and lots of little mazes to go through, a lot of rabbit trails, and a lot of things that are frustrating for someone who isn't born into the digital world. Um, I was born in Leave It to Beaver. Okay, that's where I was born. And hopefully you guys are getting a little bit of sound here. Oh, loud and clear. Thank you, John. Thank you very much for that feedback. Hopefully the music's not too loud and the mic is clear. And still learning. Hi, Martin. Thanks for stopping by. And he says I'm 5x5, so hey, we're good. I'm not going to complain. So anyway, as I was saying a little earlier, I've been working on the Perseverance, or we just call it Percy. Okay, I hate saying Perseverance or Perseverance every time, so it's Percy. And already found a number of pretty cool anomalies that I posted as flat 2D images on the Facebook site. And there's James with us in England. Thank you, James. You're staying up late, man. I'm honored by that. And Martin Penwright can't hear my music. Okay. Um, hmm. Well, let's see. Let's see if I can't do something about that. I'll come in here and bump that up a little bit. Okay. How is that, Martin? Can you hear the music now? I don't want it too loud. I just want something peaceful in the background. Anyway, I did a number of flat spelled with a PH, and all of you are X3D viewers, so you're already hip to that thing. But I did, because there was so little time, I did a number of flat renderings of some anomalies that I found, and I posted them on the. Hey, Don, thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. Hey, we're getting all the usual suspects. This looks like it's going to turn out to be a good hang. And Martin says that's about right on the background music. So thank you, Martin. I appreciate the feedback on that. You know, I sure wish we had a Zoom type situation where we could actually talk instead of working off the typed chats, but hey, that's okay. Anyway, I'm working on the 3D for Percy, and I had done what I thought was a pretty cool 3D, X3D image of the look back camera during Percy's descent in the Martian atmosphere. And so it's a look back camera looking up at the inside of the supersonic chute as it's slowing down. I wanted to share that with you tonight. And, I just couldn't figure it out. And I was going to share the flat ones too, but who knows, maybe by next week I'll have that all figured out. Very busy week with Percy landing, with searching through the images, um, and all the other things, getting the episode ready for Friday morning. And it promises to be a good one. Hey, Tony, thanks for stopping in. I saw I got a couple emails from you today. Forgive me for not having answered them. It's been a crazy day, okay, including all kinds of doctor visits and minor surgery and stuff like that. But it's all good. It's all good. I feel great. And but anyway, here's the thing. I had done the flat images of the anomalies that I found. And then when I went back to get the links for citation, NASA, in the space of less than a half an hour, had dumped like 2,000 images onto the site. And I searched all through them, and I couldn't find my images or the links to them. And so I just gave a link to the Percy page at NASA for the time being. And this coming week, I'll have time to chase down those links and do the 3D and have those ready for presentation next week. So Don's saying, on the cover of Tubas from Hell, is that you sitting in the chair in the middle? No, sir, it isn't. You know what's interesting about that is that the producer, who lives in Phoenix, went into a biker bar, and he talked to the three or four bikers, and he said, listen, I needed you guys for a photo shoot. I'll give you all the beer you can drink and $50 each. They said, yeah, you betcha. So he had this old shack out in the desert. He was a little worried, taking them out in the middle of nowhere with beer and money and all that. But they were cool, and they sat on the porch drinking beer. And the photographer shot a couple pictures. So that's where that came from. But and what did I think of the NASA live video? I thought it was pretty good. I give a lot of digs at NASA because of the way the upper management insists on holding to the agenda of obfuscation and keeping knowledge back from we, the taxpayers, who are funding their project. But that said, the engineers and scientists, all the people that work there, are some astounding geniuses. And when you stop and think about what it takes in orbital mechanics and all the ground support and all the other systems coming together to launch a rover like that, 134 million miles towards a moving planet, and precisely burning out of orbit and landing absolutely spot on the dime in the crater there. I mean, that's amazing to me. I had published the very first image. I took a screen cap and I real quick got it up online. And that image got like 50,000 hits, which is the most anything I've done has ever gotten. I was a little overwhelmed by it. And at the same time, it collected a huge boatload of negative remarks and people putting down NASA and saying, oh, it's a crappy picture. Should have strapped my iPhone to the rover. And I kept explaining over and over again, this was the landing and nav camera. It's pointed down. It's got the lens cover over it. The lens cover is covered with dust. And there are 19 cameras on Percy. And we're going to hopefully be getting some really crystal clear pictures in stereo, I believe, on the mass cams. I've been told that, and it says that on the site, but whether that's true or not, we have yet to find out. And so that was kind of interesting. And then, of course, when I published the flat images, uh, I got a lot of response on those, the anomalies I found, and a whole bunch of trolls saying, "Oh, you're stupid. Those are just rocks, and what's wrong with you?" and everything else. Well, hey, that's the arena, and I come out to do battle, but not in a negative way with people. And so that really doesn't bother me, but it does surprise me that people don't actually look at the information and read for themselves what's going on. So, hey, Redline, how you doing, man? Okay, thank you, and good wishes to you also, my friend. It means a lot to me that you guys show up, because sometimes as I'm working in my little room in the woods, up on the second floor, I'm kind of in a tree house here, and even though I live in a village, I'm really quite isolated, and I never know if anybody's going to show up. And I'm astonished when people not only show up for the live hangs, but also join the channel and offer comments. I mean, that blows me away. But the fact that you guys have taken the time to learn X3D and dive into the work that I'm sharing with you that's just amazing. It's just amazing. And I ran into one guy. I won't name his name, but he's a long-time anomaly hunter, reasonably well known in the anomaly global community. And when I put up the look-back camera X3D stereo of the shoot deployment in the descent, and with instructions and links to the tutorials, and he wrote a comment. He says, "Oh no, do I have to cross my eyes to see this?" Didn't even bother to click on the links or read the explanation. And I said, "Yeah, actually you do, but there's no strain involved. And if you look at the tutorials, you'll find out, along with thousands of other people, how super easy this is to do." "Oh, I haven't crossed my eyes since I was a kid, and it's gonna hurt, so I don't want to try." You ever remember Doug and Wendy Weiner from Saturday Night Live? That's what he reminded me of. Nothing was going to make him happy. That's okay. Doesn't hurt my happiness. I'm good to go. Don says he heard them all on a live broadcast, saying that 2x20 megapixel cameras among the array of cameras on Percy. And, I really hope that's the case. My understanding is they have video, and they have 4K, but they have stereo, color, mass cams. I'm hoping that they're matched images instead of what they have on Curiosity, where you have a 100 millimeter, the big picture, and then a 34 millimeter wide angle lens, which comes out when you download it. It's a long strip, and it's much lower resolution than the 100 millimeter. And so you have to locate your scene in the 34 millimeter strip, crop it out, do a pixel bump, size it to match the 100 millimeter, and then when you combine them, sometimes it works real good, especially if the picture is close or the object you're looking for is large. But most of the time, the 34 millimeter, once it's enlarged and joined with the 100, is really terrible. It's really pixelated and fuzzy, but it does provide parallax info. So you can take that stereo pair into Stereo Photomaker, and you can begin a clone brush technique where you start moving things from the 100 millimeter over to the left on the proper lines of parallax. And by the time you're done, it's labor intensive. It does take a while. But by the time you're done, you have a true representation of the actual stereo image had they taken a clear one. So that's one of the little secrets. The clone brush technique is very powerful, and it's a lot of fun. And for those of you interested in stereo, you can download Stereo Photomaker for free. No cost involved. They don't come back at you with a 30-day trial or now buy the new. No, it's free. And what you can spend a few bucks on Amazon or at Berezin 3D, Berezin, Berezin, a fantastic 3D resource has been on the web for 25 years. But you can order a book called 2D to 3D Conversion in Stereo Photomaker. And it's a complete printed tutorial on how to do the clone brush technique. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, right out of the box, if you pick a simple image, you can be making 3D pictures right now. Now, there is a learning curve involved, and there are a host of complexities that enter into the picture. But as you grow accustomed to it, you begin turning out some real first-rate 3D images from a 2D image. And I know my first, I think my first 2 or 3 months, I made 30 or 40. And I made the mistake of uploading those images to a site called Phereo, P-H-E-R-E-O. And they have crummy servers and they're a broken down site. And I didn't back them up and I lost most of them. But there are a whole bunch that survived. And they're really pretty good even today as I go back with now over 2 years of really intense digging into not only the clone brush technique, but 3D mapping, depth mapping, and a few other little aspects of that. So it's, even at this point, I'll look back at some of my first ones and think, that's not bad. It's really pretty good. It's a lot of fun. Redline is asking, are there 10 cameras on board? My understanding, Redline, is that there are 19 cameras on board. And I haven't gone in and done an inventory of what they are and where they are and which ones are taking stereo pairs. I literally have not had the time. And on something as important as this, you would think, well, duh, get on it, boy. And I will in the next week or so. I'll catch up. But the 3D processing takes up a lot of time, and I want to do good stuff. Some of the flat images that I posted, maybe one or two that I posted on the Facebook site, are iffy, and I get a lot of grief for that. And I shouldn't break my own rule, but I just felt like, I need to get these things up and get people accustomed to seeing what's online with Percy now. But anyway, yeah, there are 19 cameras on board. Now, why they didn't put 20, I don't know, but 19. I would imagine, and I hope that the drone, if it works, has stereo camera or some kind of laser 3D mapping, something along those lines. I mean, what an invaluable opportunity, and I have not checked to see what the equipment on the drone is, or they don't even know yet, I guess, whether it will even fly in the thin atmosphere of Mars. I think, especially in the summer, when the ice caps melt and when the temperature at the equator can go as high as 90 degrees. Well, the air is, well, let me put it this way. It'll be less dense, but the cold air is very dense, so it should be able to fly okay, even though the atmosphere is thin. So I'm anxious to see what they come up with that. And, Don, I absolutely ditto what you're saying there. That if only we can have access to all the cameras and all the data and footage they record. I'm sorry, folks, it ain't going to happen. They're going to continue to keep a bunch of it classified, and if any of the images reveal too much, then they're going to copy and paste sand and rocks and do texture mapping, or what we call rockifying, where they hide stuff. And, it's going to be the same old, same old. But that being said, I believe that we are right in the middle of disclosure. It's slow disclosure. What with the 3 videos that the Navy has released of genuine off-world vehicles, their own words, and the published patents on the TR-3B anti-gravity craft, which again, as I mentioned last week, when they publish those patents, that means they're not in the least bit worried about anybody knowing about it, because they have moved on a long time ago. So it does give you an indication of what's cooking over at DARPA and Area 51 and Hangar 4 and all of those places. And I've mentioned it before. It's aggravating to me that they keep so many things secret and hidden. But that's why my colleagues and I do what we do. Between all of us, over the years, we insisted that temperatures were higher on Mars, that in certain places the atmosphere was breathable. There was running and standing water on Mars. There were plants on Mars, and on and on and on. And they're very slowly acknowledging that and say, yeah, there is water on Mars. And guess what? The sky is blue. And guess what? And this is the next thing, they're going to find microbial life in the crater. I forgot the name of the crater. Sucks getting old. And so that'll be the next thing on the agenda. They'll say, we have found evidence of microbial life on Mars. So they don't want to go too fast and say, well, we found 4 or 5-legged creatures or insects or birds or anything like that. And we have seen evidence of birds and insects on Mars I've seen images that are pretty convincing and reasonable. It's a reasonable assumption to arrive at that conclusion, not involving pareidolia or photoshopping or anything like that. So I think it's going to gradually unfold. But boy, would I like to see their classified images. And yeah, have the crumbs off the table, you dogs. That's the way that works. Well, I'll tell you. But I'm also interested in seeing what China and Russia and the United Arab Emirates and India are going to come up with their landers, and whether they're going to hold to the global agenda of keeping everything secret. I imagine they will, because the same elite overlords control the entire planet. And so they're going to knuckle under if they know what's good for them. Okay, Tony. He's asking me what my thoughts are on the pebble stone carvings coming out of Mexico with humanoid figures and possible disc-shaped craft. No conclusive proof as yet to age, fake or real. Well, here's what they need to do. A friend of mine is an expert in stones, and he has been down to Icke, Peru, to examine the Icke Stones, which are amazing stones. There's some almost 50,000 at this point. Icke Stones, that are carved in andesite, which is an extremely hard black rock. And they depict flying saucers and dinosaurs and advanced heart and brain surgery and various other things of that nature. And of course, the mainstream scientists say, no, those are all hoaxes and they're made to sell to tourists. And no. Actually, Dr. Jorge Cabrera found them. He started digging down there, and he's come up and he has a whole museum loaded with them. But anyway, long story short, Dennis went in there and they looked at the desert patina on the rocks. And the desert patina goes inside the carvings. So the carvings are not fresh. The carvings would have to be, 800 to 1500 years old to have acquired the desert patina. So that's what they need to do, I think, with the artifacts coming out of Mexico. They look real, but to my eye, they're a little too pat with the gray aliens and the disc-shaped UFOs, but who knows? But once they can examine those under a scanning electron microscope and see what the story of the patina or the other stories the surface material will tell, then we'll know for sure. And yeah, it's true, Martin. Many people don't see anomalies because they don't want to see. It's just that simple. And really, when you stop and think about it, our conscious mind at any given moment is able to comprehend, and they've done this in research, 7 to 9 bits of information. That's pretty pathetic, but we manage pretty well. But trust me, things get by us all the time. Let me give you an example. I remember a time when I went in and I bought a Minolta camera many years ago. And it was a nice one. And I was excited when I came out of the store, and just then a truck drove by with a Pentax ad on it. And I started seeing a Ricoh ad and all these other camera ads everywhere. And I thought, what's going on? What's going on is that I had Minolta camera in my little 7 to 9 bits of information, and all of a sudden I became consciously aware of anything camera in my environment. When you spend years at a time looking for anomalies, and in particular looking for non-fractal anomalies, your eye gets trained up after viewing literally tens of thousands of images to where I can find them now in a context view. I can, it's like radar. I go, boom, there's a non-fractal, and zoom in, and 9.9 times out of 10, it's exactly what it is. Well, my eye is trained to that. My eye is trained to other things that I see that people don't see. People are only going to see what they want to see. That's what it boils down to. And you can't tell them what to see. And that's why I try to do non-fractal images and make them big and fat and right in your face. So people who've taken the time to learn X3D really have no excuse. There it is, right in your face. So, hey, Earl, thanks for coming along. It's good to see you, man. And I got your email. I haven't answered you yet. I'm getting hammered with emails and hammered with other stuff. And I try to keep up, and it's not as easy as I thought it would be. But I'm going to get to it. I really am going to get to it. And Mars, the second gen. Well, if it's NASA, it's fake. Alan, I don't know about that. I think it's reasonable to assume that a great many things are not so much fake as obfuscated and doctored that we're seeing. What gets me are the people who insist, that we never made it to Mars, and This is Devon Island, or it's Arizona. And when people say that, it's patently obvious to me they've never gone and looked at the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of images that we have from Mars. The sheer volume of data would reveal an earthly location at some point, I would think. I think the images coming down from Mars are real when they get to NASA and JPL and Caltech, but not so much so by the time we see them. Jimmy Roberts says that he thinks up to 85% of it is fake. I'm not sure I'm on the same side of the table with him on that, although he has some very good points. But it seems to me that if that were the case, there would be no anomalies visible at all, especially non-fractal ones. And you remember that I tell new anomalists that you want to find anomalies, look to the horizon. Look to the horizon. Download the image, do a pixel bump up, and zoom in on the horizon, because apparently their AI programs and apparently their human operators often miss anomalies on the horizon. And so that's where you're going to find things like pyramids and structures and some of the larger machine remnants, that type of thing. And I guess eventually we're going to find out, aren't we? And guys, on my end, it sounds like the music is really quite loud. So if it's too loud, tell me to turn it down a little bit. If it isn't, if it's okay, let me know. I just don't want to hammer you with music, because that's not what the channel's about. Hey, Colonel. Hello, sir. I'm very honored to have you present. And you still haven't helped me. You helped me when we did the Zoom meeting down in Brazil with the pronunciation of your name. And as I recall, it's Horandis. Horandis. Anyway, I probably butchered that or got it wrong, and so please forgive me. But I would love a phonetic pronunciation, an English phonetic pronunciation, so I can get your name right. But I love the fact that you're with us tonight. And Ricardo is in, hey man, and we can barely hear you. Can you try turning the gain on your microphone? Okay, does anybody sound, everybody was telling me that's okay. Not hearing your voice properly. Well, let me see what I can do about that. I'm going to turn it up some more. Boom, 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 boom. That's 100%. That's as high as I can make it. So I hope that's going to do the job. And hey, Gilbert just showed up. Good to see you, brother. And right now we're just talking a few technical issues of getting the sound level right and getting the microphone the way it's supposed to be. So endless. Okay, Ricardo, I hope it's better. I turned that sucker up all the way to the max and wasn't really redlining. I'm using a blue snowball mic, and it gets a really nice sound. It's a good mic. I'm very happy with it. So I'm a little surprised. Thank you, Jason, for showing up and for your kind remarks. First time you're in the live hang, so everybody give Jason Brom some love, some good old X3D love. Welcome aboard. And he says he can hear me just fine. And what we're basically doing here, Jason and everybody else, is right now I'm just fielding questions, and it's a wide-ranging area of questions. You can ask me just about anything, and I'll do my best to answer you. It doesn't have to just be on Mars anomalies or X3D or anything like that. It can go wide ranging. And I am hoping by next week to be able to share images with you. What I would like to do, ideally, here's my idea, is that when I have the all the X3D ready for a week's episode, then I would like to share them exclusively to you guys and gals in the live hang, so you get your first look at them. I just haven't figured out to do that yet, and I'm going to do my best to have that completely figured out by next Tuesday night. And oh yeah, here comes that old X3D love for Jason. Yeah, man. And yeah, no problem. No problem, Ricardo. I know a lot of times I have to turn up the volume on my PC. I think, oh man. Oh, look at that. Is this really Chris Maroney? The Chris Maroney? Hey, thank you. Thank you for joining me, man. That's very, very cool. Chris and I hung out at was it the 5th annual, or was it the 6th annual Mars conference in 2017? Was it 2017 or 2016? Anyway, we had so much fun, man, hanging out with Chris and Billy Carson and Thomas Mikey Jensen and all the other people. Ken Johnston, very nice man, very knowledgeable man, and so many presenters there that gave us some really intriguing information. And as you guys all know who belong to Mars Anomalies and Beyond, Chris is an easy hang. He's an old, long-time ham radio operator, and he has the gift of gab like just about nobody I've ever seen. That man can talk, and he doesn't bore you. And what he has to say is always interesting. So very cool, Chris. Thank you. And I'm going to go over to your channel, Chris, probably this week, and start harvesting some of the anomalies that you've been showing over the last couple of weeks. And of course, obviously, I'll give you credit and a link to your channel. As it stands, I normally, between my own research and stuff that pops up online, I usually have a decent supply of anomalies each week. But I'll tell you what, coming up with anywhere between a half dozen or more really good anomalies that aren't garbage and pareidolia is challenging. It's something I enjoy. I enjoy the challenge. But I am going to start, as I mentioned last week, offering up some of the fuzzier X3D images that I processed. Most of you who've been with me a while, your X3D is well in place, you're experts at it, you're relaxed with it. And so some of the fuzzier and or pixelated images aren't going to be distressing to you. And there are things that are worth seeing that aren't always crystal clear and razor sharp. So that's what's happening there. And, is Percy going to, maybe Chris knows. Chris, I understand there are 19 cameras on Percy, and that there's 4K, so-called high definition color cameras on the mass cam. But I haven't done a laundry list inventory because of time factors on my end of how many of those are actually stereo cameras, taking stereo pairs that are the same, like the Curiosity nav cam and has cams front and rear. That would be so nice. I love working with stereo pairs. It's just a whole lot easier. But I can make authentic stereographic images from a single image when the task requires it. So, oh yeah, Chris, I'm going to look forward to that. Your Percy videos are bound to be just terrific. And I found, I don't know, 4 or 5 anomalies already, Chris, and everybody else. And I publish them on my site, and they're pretty good. There are a couple that maybe not, but there are maybe 3 that are really pretty thought-provoking. And I was explaining earlier, Chris, I went back to the NASA site to get the links as I was doing the compositing on the images. And they had downloaded some, 2,300 images. I went all through page after page. I went to the end. I went everywhere looking for my images and to get a proper link for it. And that didn't work. So I don't know if they pulled those images because I really couldn't find them, those initial images, or if it was just me missing them in the mix. But I'm going to go back and check this week and spend a little time on the website. And so Chris is saying 17 cams on Curiosity, and my understanding is 19 on Percy. And 52 channels, huh? Yeah, I don't know about that. I suppose you'd have to get into the really technical aspects of it on the NASA website, or whoever's handling the camera feeds, which I guess would be NASA, JPL, Caltech, obviously. And there are bound to be schematics on Percy and on Curiosity and Oppie. It's interesting. Spirit. Some of the early Spirit pictures are some of the best we have. They're much more clear than any of the other NSLs. And they weren't so quick to obfuscate things there. So we have some real crystal clear stereo images from Spirit and Opportunity and, PanCam, NavCams, HazCams. A lot of people have a bit of a problem with the fisheye lens in the HazCams, NavCams. But I believe Jimmy Roberts has discovered on the analyst's notebook, and I've yet to find that for myself. But apparently there are HazCam images that have been orthorectified, in other words, the curvature taken out, and I really would love to find that, because that would make some of the anomalies we're finding that much more clear. And what's frustrating is they don't apply the metrics to every camera. At least I don't think they do. I've tried repeatedly to get metrics on various HazCam and Mastcam images, and sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. So I don't know. I think Jimmy has it figured out. He spent like 6 months figuring out the measurement system on the analyst's notebook. He really made a study of it. So he's pretty much an expert. And now, since I'm lazy, I kind of rely on him. I say, hey, Jimmy, how big is this? But then I ask him, well, where are the metrics? And he never gets around to answering me. He's a busy guy, too, though. He's working a full-time job, raising a family, running the channel, doing all this other stuff, doing amazing live broadcasts. Did you see, is it Daryl Patterson? Is that his name? Darren Patterson? The Sasquatch hunter. It was really neat. I really enjoyed that. And let's see. Different rovers, same obfuscation. Yep, I'm afraid that's going to be the case. And I think also, though, and I'm hoping this is true, that with the slow disclosure in place and happening as we speak, they will continue to let certain things through if you know where to look. And again, my advice is look to the horizon. People generally don't pay any attention to the horizon. And I think there are a lot of things that slip through the filtering process. The AI software for canceling out non-fractal, it's the same Mark Carlotto's look down software, JPL, that he invented years ago for non-fractal imaging for punching through camouflage on Earth and revealing military installations, weapons placement, that type of thing. And of course, when they first did that on Mars, the place lit up like a Christmas tree. It's covered with non-fractal structures from orbit. And so I believe they're applying a much updated version of AI software to filter out non-fractals in the downloads. And then I believe it kicks out to human operator, probably plural operators, and they give it a once over and do the rockifying and the obfuscation and the airbrushing, the different things that they do to keep things hidden. But I also think there are any number on the inside who are purposely letting things slip by, which, and that's just speculation on my part, but we are finding a lot of things, especially lately. So let me see if I can catch up with some of these things. Yeah, the landing video is cool, and 4,595 new images from Percy. They're doing the dump truck thing on us. They're burying us. But trust me, I'll go through them eventually. And I noticed, Chris, that there are just a whole bunch of them that are red, bright red. I don't know if that's a red filter, if it's a download error, a filtering error. I don't know. Normally, like on OPI, or on a Curiosity too, they'll do red, blue, and what's the other color? Green? Separate filters, and then you can stack them and get a color image. And I don't know if they're doing the same thing or if they're just shooting actual color straight up. I haven't done my research into that. Let me catch up on some of these. Yeah, Ricardo, those reference manuals you're talking about, I believe those are still available. If not on the web itself, certainly on the analyst's notebook, I would think. They're available somewhere. And it would be nice to have. The guy to ask about that is Neville Thompson. That man is a walking encyclopedia of imagery and cameras and vehicles and positions, and he's my go-to source if I have a question on something. Yeah, I suppose they're withholding details on the specs. I don't know why they would. It seems like every spacefaring nation has the technology to launch their own rovers, lunar and Martian, and the other moons, Titan and Io, Dione, Callisto, and the asteroids. So I don't know what the big deal is. Hiding specs or dumbing them down. Yeah, so Gilbert, let us know how it turns out. Leave a comment on one of the videos or something. I'm going to be doing my own due diligence as well, trying to keep up with the things. There are times that I wish I had a staff that I could delegate tasks to. I used to be advertising director at a major magazine, and it was nice having 4 or 5 different people that I could task then gather all their stuff and put it all together into one cogent whole that came out of my office. And that'd be nice. And that's, I think a lot of the YouTube channels that have gotten really big, like maybe Edge of Wonder, Corey Good, Sphere Being Alliance, things like that. They're making enough money and growing enough that they have a staff. David Wilcock. And they can afford the equipment, and they can afford the staff, and they can afford the locations, and they can afford the CGI and the post-production, royalties on images, music tracks, that type of situation. And it's all great. I'm just hoping to get to the point one day to afford the equipment so I can take this show on the road and do live X3D presentations to a live crowd. It'll be just like an IMAX theater. It'll be full 3D, and at this point I can put together at least 3 one-hour presentations of knock you dead images in 3D from Mars. And I try to do a best of at the end of each year and pull out what I think are the best images. But when I put all the images together from the last 7 years, there are quite a few, and more than enough to do a hell of a show. And with that in mind, I'm not begging for money. There are people who have volunteered to become a Patreon or patron on Patreon, and I also added the PayPal link that'll be going up this week in this week's video. And got people there giving $1 a month, and that's fantastic. Thank you, I appreciate it. And if I hang in there and long enough, like Chris does, or any of the guys who've been around a long time, I have no doubt that it'll be affordable one day for me. Let me catch up on some of the comments. And hey, Phil Cox. Welcome aboard, Phil. Phil was the discoverer of that cinder block wall that had roots growing over the top of it and had very clear mortar joints. I mean, just looks like any cinder block wall you see anywhere. And it made, here on Earth, and it made it to the final 3 pick in the 2020 Best Of video. So congratulations, Phil. I wish I had an award to send you when I get my merchandising going. I'll send you something. Maybe it'll be, I'll tell you what. Let me give you a choice between an all-expense weekend with me or a 10-pound ham. And trust me, take the ham. Okay, just kidding, of course. I don't want to get into any legal wrangles there. And so that's great. And Gilbert, thanks. You're going to be checking those things out, and you betcha. Do you think they'll ever loosen up so live presentations can happen again? Man, I hope so. But don't you know our elite overlords are just creaming their jeans at the control they have over us and shutting down the economy and putting everybody into the dole line, to collect government handouts. And, their idea, I think, is to shut down the economy and make America a third world nation so they can implement a global economy and a global one world government. Is that conspiracy talk? Not on my end. I'm just looking at what's happening around me, and it seems like a natural conclusion. But that said, I truly hope that at some point people will get their back up and say, you know what? After almost a year now of 2 weeks to flatten the curve, just bite me, okay? Just bite me. We're taking the masks off, and we're just going to live our lives. And if we get sick, then herd immunity will kick in. We'll have a spike. It'll go down, and Meanwhile, the survival rate on COVID is 99.9%, and the survival rate on the vaccine is actually lower. Oh, golly. Don't get me started. I'm not going to go there. I don't ever want to discuss politics or religion in any of the live hangs or any of my Zooms. We'll leave that for people who are really into it. And, let's see. That's great, Ricardo. Thanks. I've been doing the same thing. I've been dropping things. I dropped Amazon. You can find the same things online from other vendors for the same low prices. I've dropped a whole bunch of places and a whole bunch of corporate stores for various reasons, and I'm not hurting that one little bit. But where they feel it is in the wallet. Isn't that right? That's where they get the pinch. That's when those funds stop flowing. And a big shout out to Jessica and Kelsey Brown. Wow. You guys have a neat dad who's bringing you in on this weirdo stuff. This is the future. We have 2 other channels that are beginning to present X3D, and I'm hoping they will proliferate and that it will become more and more common. Because let's face it, folks, they're not going to come out with a real-time holographic television set anytime soon that I'm aware of. I mean, I invested in the looking glass technology, and I'll be getting a little portrait-sized holographic display April or May. But their large display, which is 15 inches across and I think 9 inches tall, something like that, costs almost $4,000. And people aren't going to shell out for a television. A television would be way more. So until such time as we have the Jetsons manifesting and bringing us true holographic TV, X3D is a way to go. You don't have to buy nothing. You just learn the technique and look at X3D images, whatever they may be, and bingo, you're on board. No more money spent. Yeah, you're right, Earl. There's no money in herd immunity. You're perfectly right about that. When I saw them starting to merchandise masks, and all these different vendors were coming out on TV with different ads for masks, I knew at that point that this was the new normal, and this wasn't going to go away anytime soon, and nor has it. Let's see. Oh, which other channels? Don is asking. Jimmy Roberts is incorporating X3D into many of his videos, and his website, MarsFam, MarsFam, MarsFam.net, has an entire X3D section in it of both of his images and mine, my videos and such. Then another one, of course, is Alan over at Industrial. I want to say Industrial Light Magic, but it's Photo Light Magic, I believe. Forgive me if I got that wrong, Alan. And he's going to begin incorporating X3D into his work. And then I have a man on our Facebook site, Alexander Leah, who is not only doing X3D on the site, but he's developed software so anybody can download the software, and it automatically converts the stereo pairs from NASA, JPL, Caltech into stereo images, X3D images. So that's pretty cool. So they're coming along, and let's see. Yeah, you're right, Earl. $10 for insulin in Australia and $600 here. Well, you know what? I'm not going to comment on that because I don't want to get into trouble. But that's, yeah, you nailed it, man. Big pharma. And yeah, Mars Second Genesis, Don. is definitely going to start X3D. And Don, if you're doing X3D, I'd love to see it. Maybe you've sent me something already and I haven't answered it. And if that's the case, forgive me. And you're always welcome to post your X3D work at MarsX3D, the evidence on Facebook. So that's there for you. And oh, wow, Ricardo. He says both his parents in their 70s spent the last year doing everything lockdown said to do and tested positive last week. Been a rough week for them. Silver lining, not as bad as they thought and not dying. Well, thank God for that. You know, they'll be okay, and certainly my prayers go out to them that they recover quickly and come back to even better health than they were in before this silly thing got a hold of them. I have to be really careful because COVID-19 is a SARS virus, and I almost died from SARS some years ago, back when it was had plague proportions. I was playing a concert. I was on tour. I was in Clearwater, Florida, and I stayed. They always put us in 5-star hotels, and I had a beautiful suite of my own. And I moved in and was getting ready for the show that night, and I noticed a tickle in the back of my throat. And I thought, come on, where's that coming from? And it got progressively worse really, really quickly. And by the time I got home 2 days later, I had SARS, and I called the hotel and I said, who was in that room, please, before I took it? And they said, oh, it was a businessman from China, and he left the bug in that room. I got it, and for the next 3 weeks, well, I won't go into the nasty details, but I damn near died, and left my lungs scarred. That's why my voice sounds kind of hoarse a lot of times. I can't talk a long time, or my voice is kind of husky as a result, which I guess some people like. I don't know, but so I have to be really careful. My wife and I have observed all the protocols, but we go to a local diner where we don't wear masks once you sit down, and we observe all the protocols: hand washing and masks when you're walking around. She gets tested twice a week because she's in a major position at the local college. And she's clean as a whistle. So if I had it, she'd get it. And if she gets it, I'm going to get it. And, goody, Phil says he's got some more finds for me. Thank you, Phil. Send them along. I know when Phil sends me something, I always pay attention. And we can't hit them all out of the park 100% of the time, but Phil gets pretty close to it. He's had some great stuff he sent my way, so by all means, and that's true for any of you. MarsX3D at gmail.com. I can't promise I'll use your anomaly, and it may be weeks before I get to it. I'm doing my best to catch up, I really am. And I'm not going to ignore you. You may think you're being ignored. I'm not going to ignore you. I will get to your email sooner or later, and I will respond in some fashion. Unless you're being a jerk, in which case I'll tell you all about Amway. How's that? Oh, good. Well, now, is it Lane? Am I pronouncing it, or is it Iane? I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. He says I should enable YouTube donations. I don't know how to do that. I do have a Patreon account listed under every video now, and I do have the PayPal account coming online with this week's video. So that is available. I'll look into it. I don't want to overdo it. I don't want people to think that all I'm interested in is getting your milk money every month from you. It's there are certain people who will be moved to support the channel and maybe even help me out with some equipment. But I'm I'm not counting on it. I won't be disappointed if it doesn't happen. I'm very grateful for the support I'm already getting. So, I'll check it out. Thanks for the tip. Patience is a virtue. Yes, it is. Story of my life. Learning patience. I've always been intensely impatient. And so I've been involved in livelihoods that where patience was the prime directive. Many of you probably don't know that I spent almost 30 years in the stained glass industry, and I'm considered, I'm not trying to be a big shot here, but I have attained the level of expert in the restoration of historic stained glass windows. And my work is in churches all over the country, and we worked on the most expensive stained glass window in the world, the Grant Wood window in the War Memorial in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. At the time we completed it, it was worth over $3.5 million. And I've worked on Tiffany's and some of the other well-known artists. But it's you can't rush it. We have a window with 15, 20,000 pieces in it, and you have to take it apart piece at a time, clean every single piece, put it back in place, relet it, solder it, do all the work so that it actually becomes an architectural unit as opposed to just a hobbyist thing. And so trust me, I learned a lot about patience there. That said, I'm still pretty impatient. I want things now. But as part of my neo-Ericksonian neurolinguistic programming course of study I'm in now, that also is requiring me to really learn patience. And that's good. That's just fine. Ricardo, you're right. He says he appreciates people who spend time poring over images. And, that's our passion. There are a select group of strange people in the world, like Chris and Jimmy and Neville and Neil Spence and a lot of others, who spend hours and hours, way too much time, poring over these images and looking for stuff. And I don't know, Chris, what would you say? I know that I look for every 100 images I look at, I might find one that's worth presenting, one anomaly that's worth presenting. Or maybe I'll go to a Gigamacro, which is much better than Gigaband. Blow it up bigger than the screen, and I'll do a grid search on it, square inch at a time. It can take a couple hours to get through an image that way, but that's how you find stuff. And it's interesting to me. A lot of times I'll get to, I try to get to Gigamacros right away when Nev puts them up, or Neil, but I often can't. And so I'll go in there, and there'll already be a dozen or more finds marked out, and I'll check them out and give credit where credit is due if there's anything. But usually it's just junk. It's people working with pareidolia or thinking they think everything is strange, and they mark it. But I'll go into one of those images and do a grid search on it. I might come up with 3 or 4 anomalies that they completely overlooked that are really obvious and good enough to present. So there it is. Okay, Chris. I guess Chris is heading out. Take care, brother. Awful nice of him to come on by. Chris is a good man. And there he goes. All right. And yeah, I'll bet you have some videos to edit. One of these days I may learn how to record my screen and do some tutorials on X3D work, so y'all can start doing it yourself. Sure is a lot of fun, but you have to be a certain a certain mindset to dive into that craziness. But for those of us who are into it, it's a lot of fun. And now, is it Yane or Lane? I can't tell if that's an L or an I. And I'd like to pronounce your name correctly, so help me out with some phonetics here if you don't mind. Yeah, that's true. My understanding, Lane, is that there are some 4K cameras on the Mastcam. Full color 4K. Will we get that resolution? I don't know. You know, they'll probably just make crappy compressed JPEGs like they always do. But we won't know until we start digging through the data dump. I think they're planning to keep us more than a little bit busy, just digging through the material so that we can't put stuff out too fast. And, okay, what else we got? That would be fun to do. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. Like, I need to be 3 people to do all the things I want to do. And besides what I'm doing here, what I really want to do is build a gyrocopter, get certified in it, get my commercial rating, and then start offering sightseeing flights up in Maine, up in Bar Harbor, and wherever I happen to be, and do instruction, and make, $200-300 an hour, having nothing but fun. That's what I really want to do, but the channel keeps me more than enough busy for now. And okay. Anyway, yeah, I love to fly. I love to fly. I've been flying since 1975, and boy, have I had a few adventures. I have really had some adventures. And I survived, too, by golly. Pretty amazing. There have been about a half dozen times where by rights I should be dead. And my poor guardian angel. Tattered, torn, and wore out. He's a good one. And when I finally get to heaven, I'm going to shake his hand and I'm going to buy him a chai latte and sit down with him and say, okay, tell me all about it, my friend. It's an I. Okay. See, it's real small on my screen. It's hard to see. It's an I. Wait a minute. I'm going to blow up the screen real big. Get down in there. Make sure I'm reading. It's an I. So, do you pronounce your name Iane or Yane, or how do you pronounce your name? I'm not trying to be a stinker or give you a problem. I just, nobody likes to have their name mispronounced. And so I always do try to get it right if I can. Ricardo says, being colorblind precludes from being a pilot or astronaut. So that was a bit of a downer 40 years ago when I found out. That's a shame, Ricardo. Nevertheless, you can get a sport pilot's license, I believe, to fly ultralights and even some gyrocopters without that being a problem. Now, take a grain of salt with that, but look into the qualification for a sport pilot certification. It's kind of a recreational certification, and you can have a whole lot of fun if that is indeed the case, if I haven't steered you wrong on that. But Ian, okay. And thank you, Renee, on Oosterhout. I hope I pronounced that right. Thank you. I'm trying to make this a channel that holds people's attention without gimmicks. I know some people would say the X3D is a gimmick. What are you talking about? But I just think that staying out of the way not telling you what to think. I offer speculation, and I tell you that it's speculation. But my whole franchise is you look at the evidence and you be the judge. Is it crazy? Fine. There are a lot more fun channels to watch than this one on YouTube. If it isn't, maybe it'll make you start to think a little bit, expand horizons, that type of thing. And for a select few, maybe it will inspire you to go on your own quest as an anomaly hunter, or anomalist, as we say, and begin collating your own collection of finds. You just don't know. So, Ian, okay. I guess I got it. Yeah, Ricardo and Gilbert came within a second or two of each other of giving me the proper pronunciation. And okay, and now, Ian, I'm not trying to be smart here. That must be a colloquial spelling, I'm thinking. So I'm wondering why it isn't just spelled I-A-N. I don't know where you're from. And it may be that particular spelling has real significance to you or your parents. And so I mean no disrespect there, but I'm just curious about it. Do I have any affiliation to the Viewmaster of the past? Don is asking, and actually, yes. As part of the war effort, World War II, my father was working on photogrammetry, which is stereophotography surveillance. They'd fly over and they'd map out enemy territory. And photogrammetry usually has exaggerated what's called hyperstereo, so that you could see terrain differences really clearly. And from that, they would draw terrain maps, topo maps. And it was all part of the war effort. But then as things kind of petered out from the war, he got involved with the team that developed the True View viewer, which was one of the first commercial viewers, and it had 35 millimeter film that you would thread into the little viewer that you'd hold up to your eyes like binoculars. It's called a steel of a light viewer. You look in a light bulb and you can see magnificent stereo, and they hired a whole team of stereo photographers, and they were very popular and did quite well for a long time. Then my understanding is that near the end of that run, GAF bought up the rights to TrueView, and they did a few engineering modifications, and that became the Viewmaster. And so I have a roundabout connection. My dad also developed the first spy camera that was regular issue to the OSS before the CIA, and it was a Lucky Strike camera. You can Google it. It's called a Lucky Strike camera, and it looks exactly like a package of Lucky Strikes with a cigarette or two sticking out the top, and they could take pictures with it. And of course, at that time, this is way before the spy cameras we're familiar with now, so that was quite the big deal, to have a camera the size of a pack of cigarettes. And so it was standard issue for a long time to our operatives in the clandestine services. He also developed tank sights that were in common usage during the war. A whole bunch of stuff. Worked on when he went to work at Rock Island Arsenal in Future Weapons Concepts. This was back in the 60s, early 70s. And he worked on the early robots and laser designator systems and lasers. And he was always involved with stuff, and he would never talk about it. And he was not an easy fellow to talk to, so I wasn't able to pick his brain too much. Okay, James, checking out. 12:45 a.m. God bless you, man. 12:45 a.m. Thank you for staying up. Thank you for being part of the hang. And actually, we're fixing to sign off here too, because I want to keep these things around an hour and 15 minutes. if I can, because, realistically, most people don't want to go look at a 2, 3, 4 hour hang. Now, folks like Chris and Jimmy have a huge subscriber base, and a percentage of them certainly will look at that. But right now, I don't want to wear you guys out, so we're going to sign off here pretty quick. So if you have any questions, pop them out. And wow, Mars the Second Genesis says he's working with a new channel. Of course he is. Mars the Second Genesis, Genesis, check it out. Starting to work with some X3D. I'm glad to help you any way I can with that. Alan, you certainly have helped me a lot with some of my issues in Photoshop. And I do appreciate that. And let's see, late shift. It is late shift over in the UK. And yeah, that's nice. It is nice to get the variety of people that we get on this channel. I look forward to the time. This is easy going right now, and we're not having to, having a torrent of questions, and it's impossible to read them sometimes because it comes by so quick. But I like it the way it is right now, but hopefully it'll grow too in time. So we're going to go ahead and call it a night. I have to go turn into a pumpkin and report to my boss, who's waiting patiently downstairs, and finish our Scrabble game. By the way, we're both like way up there, black belt Scrabble players, and we tear everybody apart. We work on each other just about every day. Anyway, you guys are so cool. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for being a part of the live hang tonight. Your presence here and your presence as subscribers on the channel mean the world to me. Thank you. So this is your buddy Dave over at MarsX3D. Be well.